Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Ora, ora, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fine. Thank you. I can test the presentation to see if I'll be able to project.
Okay, I'll try and make you a co-host. Let me see. Jessica.
Done already.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Karanja, you're a co-host now.
Okay, let me try. You can see the presentation on your end?
Yes, I can.
The slides are moving?
Yes, it is.
Okay, fine. I think that's okay.
Awesome.
Wamefanya maajabu, wamefanya maajabu, maajabu, Yesu. Wamefanya maajabu, wamefanya maajabu. Amefanya maajabu, maajabu, Yesu. Amefanya maajabu, amefanya maajabu, maajabu, Yesu. pone rosetu. Ame pone rosetu. Rosetu. Yesu. Ame pone rosetu. Rosetu. Ame pone rosetu. Yesu. Ajabu, Yesu, ajabu, Bwana, ajabu.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining. I'm trying to see the number of people we have in the room. Wow. Thanks so much for joining. Please, if you are currently in any community, could you please help us share the invites? From our end, we're also reminding people across our community. Please just give us about 2 minutes. We start exactly by 12:05. Thank you.
Ajabu, Yesu.
Utupe nguvu Baba, tufariji tena, na neno lako ndilo nguvu yetu. Utupe nguvu Baba, tufariji tena, maana neno lako ndilo yetu. Aiwe, utupe nguvu Baba, tufariji tena, maana neno lako ndilo nguvu yetu. Amina wewe. Utupe nguvu Baba, utufariji tena, maana neno lako ni nguvu yetu. Utupe nguvu Baba, utufariji tena, maana neno lako ni nguvu yetu. Haleluya. Utupe nguvu Baba, utufariji, maana neno lako ni nguvu yetu. Ai, hatu
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Once again, welcome and thank you so much for joining. My name is Wuraola from WAAW Foundation. I also have on the call my colleagues as well from WAAW Foundation. To our participants that joined in super early, thank you. We're so excited to have this conversation. I'll do a quick introduction of who WAAW Foundation is, but I also give context to this session. So every year, WAAW Foundation has, alongside our programs that we do, ensuring that we're able to connect with teachers, right? So whether through this kind of webinars or through physical trainings, which we'll still talk more on when we're introducing our program. So this is the last session for the year. Earlier, I think months back before this, we had a session that touched on AI, so incorporating AI into the way that we teach, into the way that we connect with our students, into even our own self-development. So it was really, really impactful. Hence why we thought that it would be good we have a continuum, but this time ensuring that we're asking the question, how can we transform teaching for all learners, considering the kind of diverse rooms that we have, diverse students that we have in our teaching classroom. So once again, thank you for joining and welcome to the session. So officially, we are starting. So today's training is going to touch on transforming teachers for all learners. And basically, we're asking the question, and I want to really believe that by the time we are done with this, all of our educators on this call would have the capacity to ensure that their learning environment, their classroom that they lead is inclusive for all students in their classroom. So today's the flow of how this is going to go on. We are going to have our brief welcome introductions, which I hope my colleague will be able to take now that our network is back on. We would have room for a bit of icebreaker, then we set the tone. So we get to talk about what is about WAAW Foundation. Again, for people who are just meeting us for the first time, welcome. So you get to know what we do, what are the programs that we have, how can you benefit from it, how can the students that you interact with also benefit from it. Then we now move on straight to the reason why we are here, which will be the session, which will be anchored by Dr. Karanja, who we will do a proper introduction before he starts. Then after all, one of the things we also really encourage is it's going to be a very interactive one, I must tell you, because I looked at how this session is going to be run, and it's truly, truly going to be interactive. So we implore you to please engage, right? Yes, it is a virtual session, but there's so much way you can engage. You can use the chat room. We're going to have a breakout session. We're going to have Mentimeters where you can answer a specific question that has been shared. So we really, really encourage you to please engage. This conversation will be largely driven by you, our audience. And we also have some announcements to make, especially we have a scholarship opportunity for young girls in university, which we'll touch on during the course of this conversation. Then we'll have our closing remark, then we'll call it a day. So it's going to be a very rich conversation, I must tell you. So before we pick up here, let me check if, Jessica, are you able to speak now?
Yes, Wura. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Austin Jessica, Administrative and Programs Associate at WAAW Foundation. And it's nice to have you all here today. The last time we had this teachers webinar, it was an amazing one. And a lot of us are looking forward, or we are looking forward to another one. And here we are again today for another episode of our teachers webinar. So let us meet you. I believe my colleague has done a little bit of introductions, but let us meet you. Please introduce yourself in the chat room. You can greet us in your language, because I know we don't have only Nigerians here. We have people from Kenya, Tanzania, from different African countries. So please feel free to unmute yourself and introduce, or you can introduce yourself in the chat room. Like I said, my name is Austin Jessica, and I work with WAAW Foundation, and I'm in Nigeria. So please, you can unmute yourself and introduce. Oh, Urola says Ekaro. Okay, that should be Yoruba from Lagos, Nigeria. I see Imolayo from Lagos, Nigeria. Ah, okay. Habari. Pamajina. I cannot speak Hausa, but thank you, Marianne. Okay, who else? Please, let's keep the introductions coming in. I believe I can see our guest speaker is here already, but let me save the little greets. When it's time to introduce him, you will miss him. Anthony from Ghana. Oh, Anthony, you're very welcome. Faith Achieng from Kenya. Oh, Faith, I don't know. Are you a brother or sister to Brenda Achieng? Brenda is my friend. I see Lillian. Ndewonu. This is Igbo, okay? Ndewonu Lillian from Owerri, Nigeria. Aziza Ngume from Tanzania. Wow. You all are highly welcome to today's session. Who else? Who else is introducing? I like meeting new people today. I I see Phyllis and Nani. I don't know. Please tell us where you're joining us from. Grace Mutoni, Greg Carey. Please, would like to meet you all. Ura, please, can we go to the next slide? So while we are doing the introductions, let's quickly have an icebreaker. So I know most of us here are educators, we are teachers. So what is one challenge your students face that you wish you could better support them with? We know we have a lot of students that face different challenges. Not every student is the type that you teach immediately and they quickly grasp what you're teaching. So a lot of students face different challenges. So what is one challenge your students face that you wish you could better support them with? Please, you can unmute yourself and speak, or you can drop it in the chat while the introduction is still going on. We have let's say 2-3 minutes for that. Okay, I guess I would share my experience first. I'm not fully an educator or a teacher, but I organize outreaches in WAAW Foundation. And one of the challenges I would say students face is the ability to not, will I say, not understanding some concepts, or I don't know if I should call it their mindset, because I've met some students that say, oh, mathematics is hard. It's not like they have tried or attempted and it's difficult, but they just believe that mathematics is hard. And because of that concept or because of that mindset, they can't just help it. So once you bring something, once they see that it is mathematics, they already, no, I cannot do this, it's hard. So that is one challenge. I feel like we can help students to remove that fear, not just mathematics for different subjects, but let's remove that fear from the students. I don't know if anybody wants to go next, wants to share a challenge or something. Oh, Phyllis Anani is joining us from Ghana. You're welcome, Phyllis. I can still see some people joining us. I see Chinenye Okoli. I see Sani Bello. Please introduce yourself while you join us. Then you can also join in with the icebreaker. If you know a challenge your students face that you wish you could better support them with, please share with us. Okay. Someone says one major challenge children face. Hold on. One major challenge students face in school is the struggle to stay confident and motivated as they learn. Many children doubt themselves. Exactly. They get overwhelmed by academic pressure or feel discouraged when they don't understand something immediately. So I could better support children with building their confidence, helping them believe in their abilities, learn at their own pace, and feel safe enough to ask questions, make mistakes, and grow. Wow, this is actually a lot. Thank you, Imolayo, for this insightful one. And I believe a good number of us can relate to this. A lot of students face this challenge. Okay, thank you very much for that input. I think we can move on now. Rura, please, can we see the next slide? Okay, so okay, I still see someone's input. Long distance from home to school and vice versa. Yeah, a lot of parents, they want to send their children to, one of the best schools in town, and then students have to travel for a long distance. Some of them will probably join the school bus. They leave as early as maybe 6 to get to school by 8. When school closed again, they're on the road for like 1-2 hours to get back home, and before this student gets home, they're already tired. Yeah, that is part of the challenges students face. So a little bit of introduction about WAAW Foundation. I believe my colleague already said a little bit, but WAAW Foundation is working to advance STEM education for African women. WAAW Foundation is an international non-profit organization founded in 2007. And our mission is to empower African women and girls to become transformative leaders through STEM education, leadership, and entrepreneurship training while making a significant impact on the world. What is our vision? We want to create a world where African women are formidable global leaders, transforming lives through technology, science, and innovation. Run next slide, please. Hi, Wura. And I go on to our programs. Okay, sorry, let me share my screen. So onto our programs, we have our need-based scholarship. So every year, WAAW Foundation offers scholarship to African girls studying STEM courses in African universities. And this is a need-based one-time scholarship worth $500, where we award African girls in studying STEM courses with this scholarship to support their education. And then from there, we move to the college to secondary outreach and mentorship program. So when we give these scholars this scholarship, in a bid to give back to the community, our scholars and fellows, they launch and organize STEM outreach chapters within their universities. So they go to secondary schools, the neighboring secondary schools, to mentor younger generations in these schools on STEM education. And now we also have a STEM teacher training, which is what we are doing here today. Sometimes we have the physical training and sometimes we have the virtual training. So this year we had a physical training at Kaduna, Nigeria. We have other programs as well, like our annual Fellows Summit, which we held this year in Kenya. We also have the Adopt a School program and a lot of other programs we do at WAAW Foundation. So I think that's enough for introducing WAAW. Please, for people that are joining us now, please introduce yourself in the chat room. Rura, are you back? Please, you can pick it up from here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Jessica. And once again, welcome to everyone who has just joined us. Pretty much what has happened is introducing ourselves, who the foundation is, as well as our audience also shared where they are joining the call from. So very quickly now, I'm going to be, before we bring in our facilitators, right, it would be great for you to get context to why this even matters. What's the essence of this session? So one of the things that we've agreed on is that at the end of this session, these are 4 critical things that we hope that you're going to live with, right? So we are saying that because these objectives are really relevant, we are saying, why is it even important? Why do we need to have this conversation, right? So we know that because you are educators, you interact with students. They come into your classroom every day. They come with different abilities, with diverse background, with different learning needs. I feel like that's a very critical thing to touch on. We just thought that it's also important that every learner that is in your classroom should feel seen, should be supported, and should have the capability to thrive. So today's session will help us to strengthen those skills. That's your skills. And we say strengthen because it will be foolish for us to assume that you're not doing these things, right? So it's we saying that how can we empower you much more than what you currently know. So at the end of this session, you would have been introduced to the foundations of inclusive learning. You would also be able to understand the universal universal design for learning framework, which can be applicable for what you do. It will be pretty much hands-on, like I said. Would also be touching on what are the practical strategies for adapting STEM lessons. So that's the science, technology, engineering, and math lessons that we've learned into your own classroom to ensure that all of your learners are fully carried along. And would also be ensuring that while you are teaching, right, while you're interacting with your students, you are able to foster equitable participation and engagement in your classroom. This session is going to be very hands-on because we're going to have a breakout session as well, which will be targeted at different teaching focus. So for teachers who teach students in pre-primary, those in primary, those in junior secondary, and those in senior secondary. We're going to have a group during the course of the session, which our facilitator will lead. But this is me giving you a heads up because it's going to be very, very hands-on. At the end of this session, we're going to create a collaborative action plan that we're going to live with, so that it's not just all talks, right? So you are living with something to say, because of this session, these are the things that I'm living with as a result of that. Now, it's very important for us to recognize what our partner for this session is, and that's the Semastia in abbreviation, but it's Center for Mathematics, Science, and Technology in Africa. We had worked with them in one of our programs that Jessica has also talked about in Nairobi, Kenya, which is our fellow summit. And we just thought, based on that 1 week of interacting with them, we realized that there's so much more. There's so much that these facilitators, these people carry. So we just thought, you know what, let's reach out to them to make this happen. So our facilitator is a staff from Semastia who I will formally introduce during the course of this conversation. And I'm also saying thank you to the Semastia team. I'm aware that some of them plan or are already on this call to be a part of the session. So thank you once again for joining. And we really hope that this will be also beneficial for you as we go on. So moving on, and it's with great pleasure that I introduce our facilitator, that's Dr. Karanja Motitu of Semastia. He is the head of research and development at Semastia, as I spoke about. And one of the things he's recognized for his expertise in STEM education and material science. Why Dr. Karanja really stood out for us, and especially for this teachers training, is during one of the summit session, his session with the young girls in that room was super, super hands-on. Last month, we did a feedback check-in with some of our fellows, and a number of them still made reference to that session because it was very hands-on. They were able to take all their learnings to the classroom, to the students that they interact with during the outreach. So we just thought, you know what, it would be great that we take this same conversation to our teachers, hence why we extended this invite to him. Dr. Karanja's key responsibility includes coordinating educational research, in-service training, needs assessment, monetary evaluation, and learning support for all the semester's program. But particularly, he coordinates Action Research Group to help educators like you on this call to refine classroom practices. So you see that we didn't just look for somebody. It's very hands-on. He's able to connect with you as an educator and share his learnings with you. So without speaking so much more, it's with great honor that I hand over the mic and the screen back to Dr. Karanja. Thank you so much for joining, Dr. Karanja.
Okay, thank you very much, WAAW Foundation members, the participants present here in, Madam Uraora, who is coordinating us here. So in Kenya is afternoon. I hope that also in Nigeria is afternoon, but to the rest of the people, depending on the timelines, so feel welcome. As we have been guided by the coordinators of this forum, we'll be looking at a section that they guided me that I should prepare on. So they basically gave me a topic. They never indicated how I should go about it. So I've tried to jog my mind to see the best way we can look at it. But as Uraora has indicated, I hope that by the end of the session, that all of us will have had, will come up with an action plan, so that then we can be able to implement the same into our classrooms for those of us who are teachers, and perhaps for those of us who are in other education platforms, maybe if you are a curriculum support officer, or you are a quality assurance officer, or any other aspect that you play in the education sector, that then you will come up with some lessons which you can then be able to mainstream within your routine duties, so that we can continually improve the achievement of learning outcomes of our learners in our different contexts. So feel welcome. So when I proceed to presentation, perhaps I'll put off the screen so that maybe I can be able to project my screen well. I think, thank you very much, Uraora. I think you have given me a very, very limelight introduction. So actually I do work at Semastia. As Uraora has indicated, Semastia is a state agency under the Ministry of Education in Kenya. Our mandate is to conduct research and teacher training around the STEM pathway. Kenya is currently implementing the competence-based education kind of a framework. Actually, we are getting into senior school. We've been all the way from the pre-primary to junior school. Now we'll be transitioning to senior school with the CBE, and we're very optimistic that this curriculum is going to touch base well, because Semastea, as an institution that is mandated by the Kenyan government to be able to capacity build teachers, I think we have done well as guided by our management. So thank you very much. So coming now to this presentation, Raora, I think let me share my presentation. Yeah, so I hope everybody can be able to see my screen.
Yes, there should be. I can see it from here.
Okay, thank you very much. So participants, this afternoon, we will be looking at the transformative learning pedagogies in the context of transforming teaching for all learners, whereby we intend to build the educators' capacity for inclusive learning environments. And in this context, as we'll see in our session flow, as we have been guided by Uraura, the session ought to take 1.5 hours. So I hope we'll be able to brace the time. I will do some introduction for 5 minutes. Thereafter, I'll give some plenary questions or kind of a reflective item that I would expect you respond to through a Mentimeter. A link will be shared. Thereafter, I request that you allow me to use the lecture method because we are online. Otherwise, I detest using lecture method, but because of the platform you're using, so you'll allow me to, for about 10 to 15 minutes, I'll do some introduction and on the Universal Design for Learning, that is the UDL, as one of the frameworks that I thought that in this context could work well to inform us in how we can be able to transform our classrooms in the Kenyan context, in the African context, so that we can be able to bring on board all the learners regardless of their diverse learning needs as well as their capabilities. Thereafter, I'll give some scenarios. I think we have been guided, we'll go per level. So because of time, I think I'll give just scenario for 2 levels. In Kenyan context of the CBE, the first level is pre-primary, which focuses on learners between years 4 to year 6. Thereafter, we go to the primary school from age 7 all the way to age 13, when they transition to junior school at what you're calling the grade 7, where their years are between 14. So junior school, that is grade 14, all the way to age 16, which is 3 years. Then from there, we go to senior school at around age 15, all the way to age 18, which is another 3 years. So our system is 2, 6, 3, 3, 3. So when I talk about levels, then I'm talking about pre-primary, I'm talking about the primary, I'm talking about the junior school and the senior school, which is the secondary school. So when you come to the levels, that's what you're talking about. Then thereafter, we'll have a brief breakout sessions where we'll give an item or a discussion item where perhaps you go into your breakout sessions and then perhaps you'll be able to discuss. And thereafter, you'll bring some discussion of your, that is your findings based on your discussion, which will enable us to come up with what we are calling the action planning. So a majority of the African countries, in particular in what we call the basic education, there is increasingly diverse requirements of our learners, either based on their gender, that is boy, girl, based on their diverse learning abilities, of course, because of their how they are oriented in the early years, based on the socioeconomic background, because you understand that in Africa, they know all of us in our respective countries, if you look back and reflect, then you can see that depending with the socioeconomic ability of the parents or guardians, then learners are able to access learning and also they're able to cope with learning at diverse levels. Then there also is the issue of language. One of us who was introducing herself here, she indicated a Kenyan was able to introduce herself in Swahili. And you see one of us from Nigeria could not be able to read the words well. So language is a barrier. and not even necessarily inter-countries, even within a given country. For example, in Kenya, we have about 47 communities, by the way. And you see, depending with where you are, in case, for example, you're in a metropolitan setup, or perhaps you migrate from one of your origin or ancestral county to another county, there are likely to be those barriers. And I believe that there's a context that maps itself across all the African countries. So we are going to look at the universal design for learning as emphasized by the UNESCO Inclusive Education Guidelines, the UNICEF's Children-Friendly Schools Framework, and I decided also to focus on the WAAW's Gender Equality STEM programs, as well as the Kenyan Semester's learner-centered pedagogies in the context of what we call the ASEI PDSI, which I'll be talking about in more details later on. And all these is to be able to come up with a framework where we can give every learner an opportunity to be able to nurture their potential so that then they can be able to achieve success as envisioned in our curriculum. So the rationale for this is to respond to the continent-wide need, where we need to strengthen the teachers' knowledge and skills in how they can be able to use the UDL to address the varied learning needs, as I've indicated. Also, to be able, there is need to build the educators' competencies in transforming their pedagogies from the traditional, what people refer to as the one suit fits all. For example, in a majority of the non-competence education systems, you realize that once the teacher gets into the class, the way the curriculum and the lessons are tailored is with an assumption that all the learners are at the same level. But at the UDL, we are trying to indicate that we need to come up with a learner transformative and inclusive model where we give all learners, based on all those diversities we have indicated there before, equitable learning opportunities. And there is also need to foster inclusive learning environments as envisioned by a majority of the African Ministry of Education in what they refer to as the inclusive education policies. And I have tried to peruse various ministries of education policies from Kenya, from Nigeria, Rwanda, Ghana, South Africa, Uganda, and Tanzania. And I've realized that all these ministries, they have a policy and a guideline as to how the education system should be inclusive. But then again, when I go and look at some performance and some reports from the same ministries, then it is not very clear how those guidelines are implemented. So hence the need that we need to bring ourselves to speed so that then we can be able to resonate accordingly. So by the end of this session, I hope that all of us will be able to explain the concepts of inclusive learning environments within the African STEM context, that we shall be able to demonstrate how to use UDL principles. There are 3 principles that we shall focus on. The first principle is what we call the multiple means of representation. The next one is the multiple means of action or expression. And the last one is the multiple means of engagement. And that's how we can be able to mainstream this within our lessons so that we can bring on board all the learners regardless of all those diversities in terms of what we had seen earlier. And then finally, I hope that you'll be able to develop and share an actionable UDL-based strategies, which then we can be able to mainstream within our classrooms or routine duties so that we can be able to have an inclusive lesson. So that is the introduction, the rationale, and the learning outcome. So now, based on that, and I'm very happy that Uraora was able to bring she was able to delve into this earlier on. She indicated that we're going to have a Mentimeter. And it seems some of us, when there was a question asked by Uraora as to what is one challenge your students face that you wish could better, that you could wish you can support. So in line with that, perhaps I would want to have a response to this question, which is related with that question that had been asked. According to you, or when you are in school, if you're not a teacher, or if you're a teacher and you're in a school, what do you think excludes learners from participating in STEM education? So I don't know, Uraora, whether you're in a position to share the Mentimeter on the chat for that item, so that we can see whether we can see their responses. Uraora?
Yes, I just dropped it. I just dropped this in the chat room. So you can click the link, then I'll share from my end. Okay.
So I can first stop sharing so that we see their responses?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, so let us respond. Respond to my question. The question is, what, according to you, which barrier or what do you think excludes learners from participating in STEM education? Or you yourself when you're in school, what did you feel, or which aspect, which factor did you feel that it really excluded you from participating fully in any of the STEM subjects? That is mathematics, maybe if you're in a secondary or senior school, maybe chemistry, biology, physics, agriculture, computer studies, home science, all those subjects. You know, if you're in a primary school, maybe science, mathematics, agriculture, nutrition, depending on the subject that you're doing. Yeah, so let us respond. Yes, I can see one, lack of enough facilities, especially in junior school. That must be a Kenyan. Fidelis Wajiro. The other one is phobia of mathematics and related subjects. That is Daniel Mario. Thank you. Those are two. I think once we get 10, that would be good enough. They are saying there are no results yet. Okay. So I think I can still read from the chat, no problem.
We have 2 submissions now on Mentimeter.
Okay, great. So most of the learners believe STEM subjects are difficult. So that's an attitude aspect. The other one is I feel the teacher to learner. Okay, that has escaped me. I am a secondary school teacher and my learners lack interest. So lack of interest. The other one is I feel the teacher to learner ratio sometimes lacks interest of some learners. So that is like the issue of the teacher, the challenge of teacher learner ratio. I can see in the public chat, maybe I can lead. The first one is as you await there, lack of enough facilities. That is from Fidelis. From Daniel, phobia of mathematics. Great. Then from Patrick, I feel many of the students lack self-esteem and confidence to put their thoughts to be known, to avoid their peers making a jest of them. From Nigeria. Simon, bad attitude towards the subjects. Then from the Mentimeter, the mentality that STEM subjects are difficult and more involving. The other one is the inability of the learners to grasp the concepts due to language barrier. The other one is, I think I had read the others. So let us keep them coming. Once they are 10, then maybe you can proceed. On the Mentimeter, they are already 6. So let us keep them coming as I read them out. Simon had indicated bad attitude towards the subjects. So let us keep them coming. I think there are 7. Integrating lessons to real life. Learners find it difficult to relate what they had done. Okay, they understand mathematics and some topics that are science to life situations. I think it's a challenge of relating what they are learning in class and perhaps what they experience in real life. So 3 more. Let's keep them coming. Let's keep them coming. Fine. So I think we can proceed with Aura because of time. Let me get back and share my screen. And I hope everybody has managed to be able to listen in or read what we have indicated. So according to you, all what we have been informed, do you think there are barriers or there are factors that exclude learners in STEM education? And what I would say at my level, I agree with all what you have said. So considering that those are barriers, and that's why I wanted them to be 10, considering that whatever we have read out, that is the issue of lack of interest, the issue of the student-teacher ratio, the issue of long distances you're traveling to school. Considering all those barriers that we have seen, how would you develop a flexible and inclusive learning environment so that you can be able to avoid those barriers? So that is another, so based on any of those barriers that we have seen, how can we be able to navigate around them according to you? So Laura, again, I'm going to switch off my screen and you can share with them that Mentimeter link so that they can tell us, based on the barriers that we have seen, what are some of the strategies that you can be able to employ so that you can be able to navigate around them by making learning environments flexible and inclusive. Because those barriers, they do exclude learners from active participation in STEM education. So I'll pull down my screen and we look forward to your responses. So Uraora, fine. You can either type on the public chat or you can respond onto the Mentimeter. How would you come up with a flexible, all-inclusive environment so that you can be able to go over those barriers? One of the barriers was phobia for mathematics. The other one, I feel many of the students, that is lack of interest. The other one is lack of facilities. So if you recall any of the barrier that you saw or any other that you might think about, how would we be able to navigate around those barriers so that we can make our learning environment flexible and inclusive? You can just type, you don't have to type a very long sentence, just a short, brief sentence, as long as it is going to communicate your suggestion of how we can be able to navigate around either of those barriers. For example, if it is lack of enough facilities at your level, not now looking at the government or maybe the head of your institution, maybe at your level, if there are no enough facilities, how can you be able to go around it so that you make your classroom inclusive and flexible? If it is the issue of the attitude, how can you, again, at your level, how can you be able to navigate around it? So I can see the responses have started coming in. The first one is use learner-centered teaching approaches, correct? So that's one of the strategies always that somebody can use to navigate or come over the issue of lack of enough facilities. Let's keep them coming. No response is wrong, so Kaidre, just respond. No responses is wrong, just respond.
We have some responses in the chat room.
Okay, in the chat room, so let me go through them. Yeah, so students find it difficult to study their books, even when they're running. Okay, I think enhance creating workshops. Yeah, I can see from Gladys, enhance hands-on activities to make it interesting. From Japheth, vary the methodologies as much as possible. Araka, for phobia, making learning fun and teaching. And teaching should be student-based. From Mary, development of playful methodologies that take away the strictness that comes with STEM-related subjects. From Daniel, gamification of these methods, training and retraining of teachers. From Aziza, encourage gender inclusion. From Omar, by letting learners know the significance of what they are about to learn in their real life. Wow, I think those are great responses, and I really like them, especially the issue of gamification, the issue of gender inclusion, the issue of learner-centeredness, and connecting what they're learning in class with the real life. So I think all these are awesome responses, and they basically form the backbone of the universal design learning. So what I preferred that we first of all responded to them before maybe I go into details into specifics about the universal design learning, is so that you can be able to appreciate that what we'll be talking about in the context of universal design learning is nothing much more than what we do, but we need to contextualize so that at any time that you're incorporating them, then we can do them in context. So thank you very much for your responses. And sorry, I hope my screen is, yeah. So we are going to delve into the universal design for learning in the context of your responses, because I have asked you to, first of all, identify some of the barriers that learners go through within the classroom. And also I've gone ahead to request that you come up with some suggestions of how we can be able to make learning inclusive and flexible. And those responses that you have given are actually some of the aspects, they are some of the indicators that we need to look at within a lesson so that we can see as to whether it has incorporated the universal, that is the principles of universal design for learning. So universal design for learning is basically a framework with a proactive approach for designing educational resources, experiences, and environments to be accessible to all learners. And as you have indicated, you see, when we identified a barrier, like the issue of lack of enough learning resources, you suggested that then we can be able to vary our methodologies depending with the resources that we have so that we can be able to use the minimal resources to optimize the learning outcome. So in the context of universal design learning, it is basically where you are conscious of the challenges your learners are going through or the challenges that your learners are likely to go through, and before the lesson, coming up with the strategies that can enable you to overcome those barriers and be able to allow your learners to achieve maximum within the lesson. That is all about what we are referring to as the universal design for learning. So that's why we are saying it is proactive. The universal design for learning guides the development of flexible learning environments. The way you are saying, if you are aware your learners have a challenge in language, maybe you can identify the local language that they can understand. Sorry? Okay,
Dr. Karanja, please go on. We'll try and mute the person speaking.
Okay, fine, yeah. So it also aims to accommodate diverse learning styles and needs for reducing barriers for optimal learning experiences. I think I've said that. So the main purpose of the universal design for learning is to create an inclusive learning environment, offer multiple options to address learner diversity, and promote equitable access to learning opportunities. The role of the teacher is basically three. One, to design and use the learning resources to come up with some experiences where each and every learner within the classroom will feel free to participate, and at the end of the lesson, then they be able to achieve the desired learning outcomes. The learning outcomes within a lesson is one. For example, by the end of this lesson, every learner should be able perhaps maybe to filter a mixture, to be able to filter a solid liquid mixture. That is the common objective, the common learning outcome. But how the learners will go about it to be able to achieve that common learning outcome is what the universal design learning calls for. So that for those learners who can be able to manipulate the objects, then you give them that opportunity. For those learners who can just be able to look at a video or a simulation and be able to internalize and achieve that learning outcome, you give them that opportunity. For the learners that they may have a challenge of seeing or hearing, then again, you give them that opportunity so that at the end of the lesson, all of them can be able to achieve them. However, a disclaimer at this level, in the context of universal design learning, despite that it can be applied across, I will not go into the details of how you can be able to use the universal design for learning for learners who have pronounced special needs. That is like those who are profoundly disadvantaged, and therefore they have hearing impairment, they have mental impairment, or maybe they have physical impairment. I'm not going to look at that. But if you have a learner who is learning, who have such a need, but then they learn while they integrated with the others, then how do we create an opportunity for them so that they can participate just like the rest of the learners? And the final outcome of using the universal design for learning is so that we can make learning to be responsive, inclusive, and engaging for all learners. So as I had earlier indicated, the universal design for learning operates under three principles. The first principle is the multiple means of engagement. And this principle tries to describe how we can be able to motivate learners and maintain their interest throughout the lesson so that whereby we are giving them adequate choices so that we can make learning fun and meaningful. And in the responses that you gave, you responded to when we asked about the inclusive and flexible, Daniel brought about the issue of making learning fun and meaningful. Another person brought about the issue of varied making available into the classroom varied learning resources. So that's what you're saying. So when you're able to consider how to motivate the learners, raise and maintain their interest by varying all these aspects, then according to the Universal Design for Learning principles, you are relying on the multiple means of engagement. The next principle for Universal Design for Learning is the multiple means of action and expression. And this principle is about how learners show what they have learned, perhaps by relying on their previous experiences or maybe on their real life experiences, so that once they're able to show that in the classroom, you as an educator, as a teacher, you're able to allow them to show what they know in different ways. Perhaps you can give them an assessment, maybe a QA question, maybe an oral presentation. Like when I was studying here, I relied, when we were starting, when I was giving those Mentimeter items, I was trying to rely on the principle, on the UDO principle of multiple means of action and expression. I gave you an opportunity to identify the barriers. I went ahead and gave you an opportunity to give us or to suggest how we can be able to overcome those barriers in the context of making learning inclusive and flexible. You can also encourage peer-to-peer collaboration through projects or discussion, and also you can use technology the way we have been able to use here. And the third principle of Universal Design for Learning is the multiple means of representation. And this principle is about how information is represented so that every learner can be able to understand it and internalize the concepts that have been learned. By using this principle, we can be able to use different methods to present lesson content so that all learners can be able to do what? To understand. And that's why, once again, by relying on this principle of representation, that is why for now we started by perhaps all of us, Uraora started by giving us an icebreaker where all of us could be able to introduce ourselves. And you realized some of us were shy. There were some of us who were forthright, and they could even say where they come from, what they do, and such kind of things. The others who are shy, they could just say their name without mentioning where they come from or not. So once you're able to understand this kind of background, then you allow the learners to be able to represent their responses or their findings in different ways. You can use visual-like posters, you can use charts and pictures, you can use hands-on learning experiences with manipulatives, you can rely on technology, you can use the modeling and interaction. So I have in my slides, which I hope Uraora will allow us to share later on, at each of those principles of Universal Design for Learning, I had come up with a detailed table. And you allow me to just look at least one of the sub-principle at each of the three principles. So the first principle we talked about is this principle of the multiple means of engagement. And we said it talks about how we can be able to arouse and maintain interest, how the learner can be able to be allowed to, we can consider the socio-emotional well-being of a learner. We can also be able to consider their cultural background so that we don't give them experiences that perhaps will leave them traumatized against our expectation, and perhaps also how we can be able to minimize the threats and distractions. So all these are a sub-principle or all aspects that you need to consider at the UDL principle of multiple means of engagement. For example, if you look at the very first one, where we are talking about arousing and maintaining interest, this is where we can provide opportunities to learners in a classroom setup where we give them a multiple of tasks. For example, we can allow them to choose between, in a classroom, manipulatives, or even digital resources, or even listening theoretically to what you're talking about. So when you're in a class, even if it may not be possible that you go and give all these facilities, because they might make your classroom to be maybe not to be very harmonious, depending with the number of tasks that you're giving, you can go and introduce maybe by a brief lecture. Then you allow the learners to manipulate the digital resources, and thereafter you also give them some items to manipulate. For example, in a science classroom, and for example, if you're doing in a senior school, maybe if you're doing titration, before maybe you allow learners to go and they conduct the titration so that they can all appreciate what you're doing. Maybe you can go with the apparatus, the physical apparatus in the lab. You can also have a video of those apparatus so that once the learner are able to, as they are manipulating the apparatus, perhaps they are also seeing the same apparatus on a screen, whereby that apparatus perhaps is being manipulated, and the main uses of such an apparatus or the unique characteristics of such an apparatus are being explained. So that the runners who can be able to manipulate the object, you give them that opportunity. And for the runners who can just understand by just looking at the manipulation through a digital resource, then they can be able to do that. So we are not saying that you bring everything, because you'll now make your classroom or your lesson to be chaotic. But in every lesson, ensure if it is the issue of resources that you're taking into class, give them more than one platform. Don't stick into whereby, for example, when I was in a high school, the only apparatus I saw was that apparatus that was physically inside that lab. I never got an opportunity perhaps to see the same apparatus online. I never got an opportunity maybe even to get access to a textbook and look at how it is drawn. So provide a textbook with the apparatus, provide the physical resources, and perhaps go ahead where possible and provide a digital platform where those resources are. So that depending with the diverse needs of these learners, then they can be able to manipulate that. The other one is the issue of the use of local market scenarios. Maybe if it is in mathematics, to teach them about the fractions, maybe how the oranges are packed in a market, how they call one pack of oranges. Maybe it has like 5 oranges that are selling at allowed 50 shillings in the Kenyan context. You can talk about the fraction. So if 5 oranges, which in the market is costing 50 shillings, which they are calling one pack, if you do want to buy one orange, sometimes it doesn't apply directly like that, but this is just an example. If you do want to buy one orange in the market, would it still be sold at 50 shillings, or how would it be sold? So that they're able to relate with the fractions you could be teaching in the classroom and the fractions in the context of how maybe the markets are. So when we come to the second principle, maybe I can talk about, because it's talking about action and expression, I can just look at the very first two. You provide the physical action by providing different ways for learners to interact physically with the materials. I think I have preempted that. And it goes ahead to talk about manipulatives. And finally, it goes to the classroom examples in the African context to talk about how you can adjust, how you can be able to adjust the variables. The way I've talked about 5 oranges going for 50 Kenyan shillings, 1 orange, how much would it go for? Maybe you can also bring about the issue of stakes within the classroom at lower levels, or the issue of commodities that these learners interact with at home, say like the food items like the beans, like maize. I don't know the other countries, maybe the common subsistence food. In Kenyan context, beans and maize are very common food commodities, which you would expect that learners interacting them with at home or even in the market. So you can bring about all this so that the learners can be able to interact with that. But more importantly, in terms of action or expression, is where you allow learners to show what they know in different ways. Don't just assume that learners should be able to represent a fraction in a given manner, maybe by just writing on a book 1/5. Maybe you can allow them different ways, even to verbalize that kind of a fraction and read it out. Maybe also use some graphics to be able to illustrate that, or even explain to their learners, to their peers, so that if they are shy, if themselves are shy, so that their peers can be able to shout it out. So allow all this so that you don't just tell a learner, you so and so Uraora, can you tell us what is this fraction? So that if Uraora cannot be able to pronounce that fraction, then you are like you are scolding her. So allow even those learners maybe to talk it out to their peers. Let their peers shout out. That way, they'll even perhaps gain some self-esteem when they realize that it's like they are the ones who are guiding their peers, and then their peers are able to say it out. There are even some cultural communities where you might realize that some boys might be shy to respond in presence of a lady teacher, especially for students in the senior school, because perhaps they feel that culturally, maybe they are not supposed to be, maybe lady teachers are not supposed to be asking them questions where perhaps they are likely to get the wrong answer. So they will shy away from pronouncing such an answer because of their cultural background. In the reverse, you might realize that maybe like boys, in presence, in some other cultural setups, like boys, when they asked by lady teachers some questions, then they are very free to give those answers because they feel that their self-esteem, will move up. So that's what we are talking about. Sorry. Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, sorry for that. So, when you look at that, then we are relying on the UDL principle of multiple means of expression. Then last is the last principle that I would want to look at is the multiple means of representation. And perhaps I just talk about the last row there, how you can be able to rely on this principle to be able to illustrate a given concept by using multiple modalities. For example, you can provide visual, auditory, or visible information patterns or kinesthetic examples so that depending with the challenge a learner might be having, as I had earlier indicated, then each learner can feel they belong and they be able to actively participate within the lesson. So we can be able to demonstrate, you can be able to use videos to demonstrate that. You can also be able to use some stories where you give stories. Perhaps some learners, they become interested when you're starting, maybe when you give an interlude of a story in the context of your sessions. You can also represent different items by using different colors, because some learners, again, they get interested to different color codes. So all these, if you are able to incorporate all these principles within your lesson, I know sometimes or most of the time you're able to incorporate this, but more often than not, we are also forgetting such that once we are going to the classroom, our main intention would be just to cover the lesson, not necessarily to be able, to be able to address each and every learner. So when you are conscious about the diversity learning needs, then you're able to make your learning environment inclusive and flexible by incorporating all these principles. So I'll move on and give some specific scenario. And because of time, I had prepared for all the levels, but allow me maybe to give an in-depth analysis of a scenario, for example, in senior school. And maybe you go to a classroom and you expect learners to participate in a titration, which is an acid-based neutralization titration. So learners would be expected to work in groups and also mixed in gender. And in this laboratory, we have benches that are fixed. So in case you have that kind of an activity, what are the likely barriers? So what are the likely barriers that you're likely to see? So boys, in case of a mixed classroom, boys are likely to dominate manipulating of the apparatus, for example, burettes and pipettes. And then the girls could be subjected, that once they could be subjected by the boys are dedicated to that. Once the titration is over, they are the ones who are going to do what? To clean up the bench and also clean up those resources. So you as a teacher, if you're not conscious of such, then the girls might continuously participate in that kind of a lesson without actively participating in the learning aspect, which is the manipulation of the apparatus. Then a learner with low vision, they might also struggle to read the color change, because you see if it is a titration setup, then you'd expect that some learners, at any point, we are going to have some color change, without putting into consideration that there are some learners who have a challenge with identifying certain colors. Also in the same class, you could also be having another learner who is anxious about practicals, and they might be avoiding to participate so that they do not make mistakes, and then they become a laughingstock from their peers. Or in the alternative, the laboratory that you're using, it could also be crowded such that some learners have an inability to be able to move. Remember, the context we gave our lab is that the laboratory has fixed benches. Maybe there are some learners who are disadvantaged and therefore they are short. They may not be able, depending with maybe the apparatus you're using. For example, in chemistry, they use a clamp stand. Once they connect a burette, perhaps they may not be able to stand up and be able to be at the desired height so that they can be able to read out the the volume changes. So all these becomes barriers to class. So barriers are not only those factors that are in terms of resources, those factors that are in terms of teacher-student ratio. So these are factors that we ourselves at our level as a classroom teacher that we subject our learners to. So how would we be able to overcome such barriers? So by relying on the universal design for learning principles, under the multiple means of representation, we can be able to overcome those barriers by providing large print iteration charts or high contrast indicators so that we do not only rely on the commercial phenolphthalein, we can be able to improvise the indicators so that by changing a color a bit, so that then that color becomes very clear, or even instead of just using phenolphthalein indicator, perhaps what is indicated in the textbook, we can be able to use any other indicator. In the alternative, we can also be able to project maybe such kind of an experiment on a camera or by using a digital resource, so that instead of learners doing, in addition to learners doing, we are also demonstrating how it should be done, so that then they feel that whatever they are doing is not like it is an assessment to make them fail. Under the multiple means of action and expression, you can allow, like the way we had said, boys dominating to the use of apparatus and leaving the other task of cleanup to the girls. You can rotate roles, so the way you group your learners, you can indicate that today so-and-so is the one, because in a classroom, then you're supposed to know the names of your learners. You can indicate that so-and-so are the ones to do the experiment today, and they are the ones to manipulate, to measure the volume of the solutions you're using. So-and-so is the one to record the readings. So-and-so is the one now to do what? To do the cleaning. So you can deliberately be able to align the roles and responsibilities so that you allow each and every learner to participate actively. Under the multiple means of engagement, you can allow learners to choose again which titration to carry out. So you can have, maybe if you're doing an asset-based titration, you can provide them with multiple assets at the multiple bases, so that once you give them a procedure, then each learner is the one who will pick which asset and which base to conduct iteration with. You may also give them opportunity to make a decision of which indicator they are to use, depending on the color that they are comfortable, or they may not have a challenge to do what? To read. So by using the universal design for learning, in the context of that iteration, then this is how we can deliberately be able to think around as we plan for our lessons, so that we do not leave out or disadvantage any learner. But by so incorporating, you are making your lesson to be inclusive and flexible, so that at the end of the lesson, then each and every learner is able to achieve what is desired, right? So at this juncture, because of time, I would request that we shall be taken out into our breakout rooms, maybe to make a discussion based on what I have highlighted. But before then, Uraura, maybe before you make them move, maybe I can give a guidance of how the case study should be looked at. So in this case study, this is a case study for junior school at grade 7 in the Kenyan context. So there's a case for junior school. So Miss Amara, a grade 7 integrated science teacher, is planning to design a lesson with inclusive and flexible experiences based on all UDL principles. The lesson is on separation of homogeneous mixtures by using simple distillation. And specifically, it is about how to perform simple distillation on salty water. But the context, so that the Miss Amara is able to come up with a UDL principled lesson, she needs to know her type, her category of learners. One thing she needs to know from her class, it is clear that some learners are ordinary or regular, and they are the majority in that class. But however, in the same class, some 3 learners have dyslexia. That is, they have a challenge with reading very lengthy instructions or internalizing very lengthy instructions. Then 2 are high achievers, and they get easily disengaged, especially when they see their peers struggle. Then some learners in her class have a challenge with understanding English, and therefore, in most of the time, once instructions are given, these learners who are still developing the English proficiency, they will have to consult their peers, and sometimes their peers might also have misunderstood the question, and therefore they are going to give some wrong instructions. Then some two learners are also shy and they struggle with verbal communication. And we also in the same class have a learner who is hands-on, but they have a challenge with writing. So all this background, somebody must know about their class so that then they can be able to come up with the right UDL, that is, they can be able to employ the correct UDL principle so that they can be able to make their lesson inclusive and flexible. So this is the question. This is the item that I would request that those who will be taken into the breakout room for junior school, that is the item, that is the question they should look at so that they come up with a matrix in the context of UDL, that is with the strategies of how Ms. Amara can be able to come up, the strategies Ms. Amara can come up with to make her class inclusive and flexible. So that is for junior school breakout room. For the primary school, maybe because I can see numbers are not more, we can just have 3 breakout rooms, Uraora. We can have one for junior school, we can have another one for primary school, and we can have another one for secondary school. That is for senior school. So this is the item that I'm displaying is for junior school. For those who will go to senior school, they'll assume that the learners in their class have similar diverse needs, as I have bulleted there, just like for Ms. Amara, but in their breakout room, they agree an idea they would want to teach in their class. So groups are free, they just come up with an idea, their own idea that they would want to teach in a class, but they consider that their class have these learners with these diverse needs. So they come up with a matrix or with the strategies. Basically, they come up with the strategies that a teacher with, depending with the idea they have identified, that is like a strand or like a subtopic that they have agreed they will teach. They come up with the strategies that can be used to teach a class with these diverse needs. So the only thing that is changing is the topic or the substrand or the subtopic that each breakout room will discuss, but the learners they are considering are the same as I can display here. So I hope my instructions are clear. So if they are, Uraora, maybe you can exit them into the breakout room. We can give them 15 minutes to discuss that, depending with your timings. I think we can give them 15 or 10 minutes. Then after that, we can allow them now we come back to the plenary and we give our findings.
Okay, so Dr. Karanjo. Yes, thank you so much, sir. So we are currently creating the meeting group, the rooms for the 3 groups, just to make it very much easier, especially for the teachers who will be joining those groups. I've done a screenshot of what this activity is, but what I'll please request is we will need to go across all the groups to drop what is their task so that it's very clear for each. I can't copy it from my end because you're the one sharing. So I'd really appreciate that so that each of the groups will know what their task is.
Okay.
Okay. So and also just to confirm.
Walk around all the breakout rooms, no problem.
Okay, but just to also confirm, so the groups will be for the junior and for the primary and senior secondary. That's correct, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Please give us a few seconds. We're trying to set that up now.
Okay.
Okay, so our teachers on the call, thank you so much for still hanging in till now. I hope it has really been beneficial for us. In a few seconds, you're going to get some pop-up to join different meeting groups. And based on what we've established, we're going to have 3 different groups. One group will be for the teachers who take primary, who are teaching the primary level. Would also have another group taking the junior level as well as the senior level. So if you see the one that you fit into, you just join that meeting group. Please, with a show of emojis, and please confirm that it's clear. If you need us to reiterate again, please let us know so we can take ourselves again. But we want to be sure that you got what we just shared. You can use the comment section, you can use your emojis. We want to be sure that we're not just speaking to ourselves. Okay, thank you so much, Gladys, for confirming. Awesome. Thank you. So very quickly now, the links will pop up now. Hi, Dr. Karanja.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Karanja. Can you hear me? Okay, Dr. Karanja has left the call. Yes.
Yes, Anthony, I'm trying to see how I can move or transfer meeting to room. Let me see if I migrate. I'm trying to migrate to the next. I'm just from one. So let me see. Okay. Uraora? Uraora? All who is here? Anthony? Anybody from the main team? Are you unable to make another breakout room?
Yes, I can create another room, but I will have to disable this one first. So I can create multiple rooms for everybody to join separate rooms. Does that
Okay.
work?
I've already given instruction in one of the rooms where you had migrated them. I don't know now
Okay.
if you create another one, will they be able to migrate out of that one room? Or
Yeah, I
they,
can close. Yes, I can bring them out of that room, then create multiple rooms for everybody to join, depending on their class.
yeah, you can so do. Because create another, the one I've given is for senior school. So create a
Okay.
room and call it junior school. The breakout
Okay.
room, create one and call it junior school, and another one call it primary school.
Primary. Okay.
Yeah. So members, let us just proceed. I hope all of us were in that classroom where we had given an instruction on discussing about simple distillation. And the people agreed, the people in that room one had agreed they can discuss on that item. So let us have an open discussion. Let us just have an open discussion because we have had a challenge of making several breakout rooms. So in that kind of a class, maybe I can coordinate. In that kind of a classroom where either Ms. Amara or Ms. Araka, they have those learners with diverse needs. The suggestion I would want you to tell me, because those are barriers now, depending with the learning styles of each of the learners, in themselves they are barriers because different learners, they have different learning abilities. Which strategies can we employ to ensure that all those learners by the end of that lesson, a 40 minutes lesson, all those learners will be able to demonstrate how to separate salty water and they be able to get distilled water. How? Okay, I can see. Okay, I can see somebody has already pasted the question there. So let me get some responses of strategies we can employ. Strategies that we can employ to enable a teacher in such a class to enable their learners to achieve the same learning outcome. You can just raise up your hand. Uraura, you can guide. How do they respond? Do they write on the public chat, or will they?
So they can raise, since this is an interactive section, so it would be great that we
Yes.
hear voices. So
Very good.
using the emoji to raise your hand, you can raise your hand, then you unmute. So we currently have Priscilla, who has raised her hand now. Hi, Priscilla, you can unmute and speak. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. I'll just talk about the three learners that are less. I would say they should the teacher can get a audio video that can explain what the distillation process is all about, so they will have a proper understanding of what they are going to be doing in the class.
Oh, great, Priscilla. That is very great. Yes, another person, you can focus on a given learner and make a suggestion of how we can assist them so that they can be able to demonstrate how salty water can be separated to obtain distilled water. She has talked about a learner with dyslexia, and she has indicated that we do an explanation using a video. And that would also sort any other learner who may be having some challenge maybe with the seeing. So as they listen in, then they are able to, they are brought on board. Another strategy. Yes, we have 5 minutes. So Kaidre, in these 5 minutes, feel free to, yes, Araka. Obianunju, proceed. Unmute yourself and proceed.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm also thinking of like what the other lady said, use of PhET simulation. This will give them idea of this experiment without performing it, and it will also help students that are struggling with English to understand what is happening. And then it also help to engage the two highly achieving learners, because they want to think ahead. They want to know what will happen at the end of the experiment. Then I also want to add that learners struggling with English proficiency, if the learning can be brought to their native language, it can also be helpful, using the native language to explain whatever that is happening in the simple distillation. Or you can also bring up a scenario, a real life scenario, whereby you tell them that when you mix water and salt, you can also separate it by this means. You can explain that to them. Thank you.
Wow. That's great. That is great. So you're focused on almost 4 categories of learners. That is very good. Let's see another response. Just raise up your hand. So, yes, John. John or Effiong, proceed.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John.
All right. My question I want to ask is that in a school whereby everybody is trying to reject technology, for example, now I have a website in the school alongside with the school portal. Now I was like trying to announce to all members of the school is that effective from this section, that this first term, that we are going to have our results on the portals, at least for the first time, to show how we are improving. The response I have was not encouraging. Some reject it, some like it, because personally I'm tired of putting results on assessment booklet. I just want results to be on the portal so that everybody can buy scratch card and you can check it any part of the country, any part of the location that you are. Although we are a modest nursery and primary school, we are trying to integrate technology into it. So in situations like this, what should I do to this parent? What should I do to my team? Hello.
Okay, yeah, we have heard John. So I hope my colleagues you've heard. So John has decided to pose a question. So maybe we can respond to him. Before I come on board, can somebody give him a suggestion? I hope you have understood his predicament, that he wants the assessment and some to be done online, but the teachers and parents or guardians are not readily willing. So how can we assist him to be able to bring on board his peers and maybe the parents, including the learners? How? Is that a concern, John? Have I gotten
Yes,
your...
yes. That's the question. That's it. How can I change the mindset of the parents? First, who are the strong beneficiaries of this? Because I wanted to upgrade everything to the portal, and it seems that the response is not encouraging. So you are in order.
Hello.
Okay, great. Yeah, proceed.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
If the challenge is from staff members, the whole idea is to make them see how it will make their work easier. But if the challenge is from parents, it's a financial issue. For them, we can't pay school fees and come and pay another money for scratch card. Must they pay for scratch card? Can't it be done free? They have a code. They use the code and access their results without paying for anything about it. Or integrate the cost of the scratch card to the school fees.
Okay.
On point. Thank you. Another person, only one person, because that was off the cuff. But since he has asked, let us just respond to him. One more person.
Good day, everyone. Yeah, I really think it's the money that you included. Everybody might want to, they want to go into tech, but I think it's the amount, because you're telling them to pay for scratch card. So I just advise that you just start it without the scratch card first, then, because you have already collected school fees now. So maybe in the next one, you can impute your expenses into the school fees before you can now start telling them about the scratch card. By then, at least people have started using it and they've seen that it's more effective or more better to use the checking on the internet better than the booklets.
Thank you so much. Thank you. On point.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe finally is about the issue. Before you engage the parents, it is always good to empower them. As a teacher, you shouldn't just jump into like assuming that since you are sorting one or two of their challenges, that they will voluntarily be able to come on board. You can see how our colleagues here are talking about. So always, however good a solution is, always call them either online or face-to-face. Face-to-face is good for parents. Engage them, empower them, show them the advantages of what you're introducing vis-a-vis what they have been going through. Even if it is to come with a cost, try to show them the value for their money so that by the time you are selling to them the idea, then they have already joined your site. But if you just talk to a few of them and tell them, especially where it comes in with some cost, the parents and guardians will always look at it from the monetary perspective and they think that you're benefiting. And therefore, however good the idea could be, they may not own it up. So always empower them, however good the idea is, before you engage them. In Kenyan context, we call it parental empowerment and engagement. So before you engage, ensure you empower them. So thank you very much. I think we can go back to our item. I hope, John, now you're okay. Fine. So let us go back to our question: how we can be able to maybe focus on a given learner and give a suggestion. I have only 2 minutes for that.
So, Dr. Karanja, we have a comment in the chat room that is addressing that.
Okay, I've seen this one. My focus is on learners who are shy. The teacher can make them group leaders and promise them a reward for active participation. And for those who easily get distracted, the teacher can engage them once in a while with a question about what's going on. Awesome. So that's very good, Anthony. Another one. There was by letting learners know the significance of what they're about to learn in real life, their life situations. Another, the final response, focus on a given learner with a certain need and tell us how we can be able to assist them achieve, that is, be able to demonstrate how to separate salty water and get distilled water or consumable water.
Doctor, I can comment on that one.
Yes, John. Yeah, proceed.
Yes. What I can say there is that if you can, those ones that have difficulty in learning, those ones that have difficulty in understanding what the teacher is, you can keep them on the front seats. Then those ones, you can keep them on the front seats. Maybe if they, maybe they can keep them there on, let them always have the front seats so that the teacher can have a fuller focus on them and look at what kind of problem are they having. Is it on writing something from the board, or is it on writing roughly on their notebook, or they do not even just try their best? They can't. Those students that are struggling, those struggling learners, keep them on the front seats of your class and pay more attention to them. At the same time, while trying to balance it up with the one that can get it easily. By so doing, on gradually, don't try to call them names. Don't call them names. So they try to make friends with them, specify their problem, keep them on the front room, get alongside with them. After some time, they will get it up. That's what I'm using in my own aspect of side, in my side. Hello? Hello?
Okay, sorry. Welcome. Thank you very much, John. I think that's a very good response. You see, when you're faced with a given scenario, each and every one of us, they have a way of how they can be able to navigate around it. And that is one of the advantages of even consulting. You see, the way we are talking about here, we are relying on what we might call the community of, that is like a community of practice, which is professional, so that we can be able to deliberate on how to go about it. Maybe you'll allow me to just display the matrix I had come up with. Uraora, I think you can give back the privilege of the rights of sharing my screen, yeah?
Let me check. Could you please try it now?
It's still saying the host isn't allowing sharing for the meeting.
Okay, just give me a second.
Yeah.
Can I just try now?
Okay, I can join. Okay, let me try. Yeah, great. Yeah, I hope you can be able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. So I had tried to come up with a matrix. I know because of the timings on your head, but my focus would be on column 1, what it means in terms of a given universal design for learning principle vis-a-vis what is on the very last column, how it supports the specific learners in Ms. Amara's class. Remember, we had given some categories of learners, and we wanted to see how we can rely on each of the principles to address that. So by relying on the first principle of the universal design for learning, that is the multiple means of engagement, where we had indicated that we are supposed to come up with the strategies to show how we can be able to stimulate and maintain curiosity through the lesson. For those learners with dyslexia, as some of you have indicated, we can use the visual and hands-on options to reduce the text, to reduce the text load. For the high achievers, one of us suggested that we can verbally continuously ask them questions. That's recommendable, but sometimes when again you focus on them so much in a class, then the low achievers or the time takers might feel that the lesson doesn't belong to them. So within the lesson, maybe you can come up with the challenging tasks so that you can prevent them to have boredom. Then for those who have a challenge with English, I think somebody indicated that we can come up with that. So you can give them real life experiences to make the content relatable without heavy language demand. For the shy ones, we can assign them roles to allow participation without forced speaking. Then for those who like hands-on activities but they have a challenge with language, you can get meaningful engagement by assigning them responsibilities, maybe by manipulating the apparatus, maybe by doing the cleanup of the benches and those kind of things. By relying on the second principle of UDL, that is the multiple means of representation, those with dyslexia, you can, because they will have a challenge that are studying written instructions, you can come up with a pictorial procedure cards so that the instructions are written on several cards. On one card, maybe there is how they can mount the apparatus. On the second card, maybe it's how they can be able to measure the volumes of the solutions of the solution. The next one maybe is how to mount the setup, and the other one may be how to correct the distillate vis-a-vis the rest of the components that will be left in the beaker. So you can come up with the pictorial cards so that the runner can be able, as they flap around them, then they will not realize that they will not get the instruction overload. For again, those with a challenge with running, somebody indicated that we can use even the local language, but here we are suggesting in the context of representation, you can use the local language, or as somebody indicated, the language that they can be able to understand with ease. For the shy learners, you can come up with clear visuals to reduce the need to ask them clarification questions, so that once you give them instruction, because they are shy, they wouldn't want to continuously participate in the task, then they can concentrate on doing the task. And with the time, once they gain the self-esteem, then they will participate in the activity just like the rest. And the other one under the multiple means is the hands-on learners. Just like we have indicated for the dyslexia one with the pictorial procedures, the hands-on ones, you can also give the same instructions within the cards, so that as they manipulate them, then it reinforces the understanding of those instructions. Under the third UDL principle, the multiple means of action and expression, those with dyslexia, they can draw or verbally explain instead of writing long responses. So you can just explain to them, or you can write, you can verbally explain to them, or request their peers to continuously explain to them. Then for the shy ones, you can pair them. Maybe you can pair a fast timer and a shy learner or a time taker, so that they can, at their level, learners at their level, they may not feel a challenge to seek for clarification among their peers. For those who like manipulating apparatus that their hands on, they can express learning through modeling or handling those apparatus, so that then as they manipulate the apparatus, they are able to carry out that task. For the high achievers, as we had earlier indicated, under the multiple means of engagement, you can give them open-ended question, whereas the rest you give them specific instructions. For these ones, you can give them open-ended question with an intention that they will do the same, but then you're not giving them very specific instruction. And the English, those with a challenge in understanding English, then you can give them some simple items so that they can be able to, simple sentences, so that they can be able to understand sentences that do not have vocabularies within them. So that there's the kind of a matrix that I would suggest that going forward, maybe as we prepare for a given substrat, this matrix need not be prepared per lesson. Although in my context, I'm referring to it as a lesson matrix, you can prepare such a matrix for a substrat, so that you can map out how a substrat will run around, so that maybe as a substrat that is going to take maybe a week or two, you are relying on the same matrix, so that you avoid the issue of overload on your site, where you are making one per lesson. So once you make one for a given substrat, it will assist you that every time you're going to that class, you can be able to focus to just review it and be able to see how to organize your experiences, so that you can take care of each of the categories of learners. So before I go to the conclusion, I think with Aura, we can have an action plan which can be guided by this question, but you can guide us how to go about it, so that after the action plan, I can just give my conclusion and thereafter return the program to you. So Laura, you can give us 5 minutes. You guide us how you'd prefer we go around the action plan, guided by this question. Then thereafter, I can conclude and take the program back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karanja. It will be good to hear voices, and I always say that again. So I'd recommend that we can have two of our teachers request to speak to answer this question, while we also encourage others to drop it in the chat room. So if you can have two of our teachers speak based on this action plan, then the others can also share their thoughts in the chat room. Dr. Karanja, that works, right?
Yeah, that's okay. That's great.
Okay, so with using the hand raising symbol, we can have two teachers please volunteer to take this. So with all what Dr. Karanja has shared with our peer-to-peer learning as well that we also had in the brief session, what's one action that you would implement in your classroom starting tomorrow to make your learning inclusive for your classroom? We have awesome. Thank you so much, John F. Young. You have the floor.
Oh, okay. Though I came in late, but from my question and the discussions that I've just led, one of the things I will implement is that I will actually try to get more feedback from the parents of the school and ask them how they feel about our services. At the same time, for those who are struggling learners, I will be more involved in giving them more attentions and more practical assistance in their learning journey. I believe that's what I can be able to apply, be effective from on Monday.
Thank you so much. Feedback is critical.
Hello?
Yes, I heard you. Thank you. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so thank you so much. Okay, thank you for your contribution. And I was agreeing to what you said, that yes, feedback is critical. It helps us to grow. It questions what we are currently doing and how we can do it differently. So thank you for that. And we wish you the very best in you implementing all of this by getting the required systems in place that will help you to collect this feedback, and not just collecting the feedback, but actually using the outcome of that feedback for yourself and the school. So thank you. Do we have any other person?
Please, can we have this slide on our mail, please?
Could you please come again?
Can we have the slide? Can we have the slide on our mail? Can the slide be sent to us on our email address, please?
Let me leave that to Dr. Karanja. Dr. Karanja, would that be a yes?
Yeah, no issues. We'll share immediately.
Thank you so much. So something we would also be sharing the recording. We're going to upload it on our YouTube page and share the link as well with everybody, so you can always have access to it after this. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Karanja. Okay. Do we have any other inputs? You can also drop it in the chat room. We've been here for over an hour. It will be very critical that we have voices heard. We have things to share that, oh, this is what I'm going to do differently following my time spent here.
Yes, John's hand is up.
Okay. Hi, John. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I think something I would like to do differently again on Monday.
Hi, John. Sorry. John, please permit me to come. Your voice is muffled up, so it's not clear.
Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now. Thank you.
Okay. Before now, my classes used to be very intensive, probably in a race to cover up the syllabus. But I think from Monday, I will consider reducing the intensity in order to make room for these, make room for the inclusion of various models in order to engage with different categories of students I have. The shy learners, the high achievers, those who are easily distracted, because there is no way I'll be able to marry a very intensive class period and also engage with different groups. There are some groups, I have some students who are slow learners, so So by reducing the intensity and also engaging them, I think I'll have a better result, better performance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. So it's really great to see how play can be incorporated in the classroom, because if you add play into the classroom, it basically just helps reduce the tension as well. So we wish you all the best with that as well. So before Priscilla speaks, let me quickly go to the chat room. So we have Marion Dugi says that I feel allowing diversity in teaching and learning is all we need to achieve inclusivity in learning. Absolutely. I mean, that's why we've been on this call. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mary, for your contribution. Hi, Priscilla.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Though I came in very late, but I think I've learned a little this free period I've been here. And being so specific for every learner's needs. I think that's one role of a teacher, and that's what I plan to do better, as I reach out to every child based on their needs. He showed us every child was mentioned needs. So I'll plan more on engaging every child in my class based on their specific needs. And I think that will really help, so that at the end of my lessons, everybody is carried along and then learning is properly done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Priscilla. One size does not fit everybody. Thank you so much for reminding us on that. Thank you. So Dr. Karanja, back to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very quickly, allow me take this. I just saw a comment now in the chat. Okay, 2 comments now. So one from Obiano Drew, thank you. For high achievers, I would give them more challenging tasks. And for shy learners, I will use think, pair, and share method. Okay, thank you, Obiano Drew. David says, I will allow learners to use diagrams to represent their thoughts about the subject matter. Very correct, very correct. Japheth also says, understanding the entry behavior of each learner is a great deal, so as to plan on how to reach each of them. Thank you so much, Bobianuju, David, and Japheth, for your contribution. Dr. Karanja, back to you, please.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Let me get back. So, members, thank you very much. I think all your action plan and what you are expected to do and the suggestion of how we can be able to overcome a challenge is very much welcome. And that shows us that we are also very rich in seeing how we can be able to navigate around. And therefore, I would want to, at this earliest, sincerely appreciate WAAW and WAAW Foundation in collaboration with the semester for having given us an opportunity to come and share these findings, so that we can at least jog our mind and see that what we are calling upon are not new things, but we only need to do them when we are conscious, so that we can be able to take care of each and every learner. So in conclusion, when you're using the universal design for learning, you allow equity in participation. You make the learning environment be flexible so that you can be able to accommodate each and every learner. By so doing, when every learner feels that they belong, they have a voice in the lesson, they have a choice of doing what makes them feel comfortable, and they have access to do what they like, then that brings about the learner-centeredness. And therefore, once a learner feels they own the lesson, then they will feel obliged to be able to push forward and be able to achieve the desirable learning outcome. When we do all this, we make the learning accessible, we motivate our learners, and by us coming together the way we have done, we get to listen from each other. We become empowered, so that then our ability to design a flexible, inclusive learning environment becomes a reality, so that we can always give the learners an opportunity to realize their potential. The clarion call I would want to put at this point is, let us consciously make our classrooms engaging, inclusive, and whenever we get a learner with a challenge, let us not dismiss them, but let us make our teaching method flexible to accommodate them, so that each learner's potential is realized at our level. Let us not always shift blame. Say, like, if I'm in a congested class, I start blaming the head of institution, blaming the government, and perhaps blaming even parents. Let us take it upon ourselves at our level to do what we can, and that what we can is by changing our teaching approach. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I feel honored for you allowing me to guide you through this discussion. I was not teaching anything new. I was only guiding the direction the discussion should take. Otherwise, I've realized that we all know. So this juncture, Uraora, maybe before I take it back, I can see one of my colleagues, GK, has been in this meeting. So GK, if you are in a good position, maybe you can just say hi, give your remark, then we take back the program to Uraora from Nigeria. GK. I think, sorry, Laura. I think GK has shied away, or maybe is compromised. GK, I can see you have unmuted. You can say, give your remarks. George? I can see he has unmuted, but I can't hear. Can you hear what you're saying, Laura?
No, I can't.
Okay, fine. You proceed. Whenever
Okay.
he comes on board, you give him an opportunity.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Karanja. And I'm saying this beyond just this session, but from when we even conceptualized the thought of having this session, you've been super, super helpful and very guiding. And for this session as well, thank you for your time, for the knowledge shared, for you being flexible, even when we had some technical glitch here and there. So this is me saying thank you on behalf of WAAW Foundation. And we're also extending our thank you to Semastia. This partnership is really incredible, and we are grateful for the support that we get from the Institute. And to our audience who have been on the call, thank you for your engagement, for asking the critical questions, for giving your feedback, and even sharing ideas with amongst ourselves. So thank you very much. Before we come to an end, which my colleague will do, we have a scholarship opportunity that we would like to share before we draw the curtains to the end of this session. So I'll quickly hand back to Jessica to speak on this. Thank you once again. Hi, Jessica, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. I want to be sure who is speaking.
Yeah, GK, George.
Okay. Okay. Mr. George, you can proceed.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I think the way I joined the meeting, the discussion, and I really want to appreciate. I was just saying that I really appreciate the sharing, the guidance that Dr. Karanja Mutito has given us, the head of research and development at Semastea, my colleague, and the discussions have been very rich. Sorry, I joined a little late. Sorry, I didn't get the link on time. Sorry, Dr. And I was just wishing how this can reach more, but I'm happy that wherever has indicated that the video, the recordings will be shared in the YouTube channel, and you'll be sharing the slides so that we can reach more teachers. But I really want to appreciate this opportunity and wish that this continues. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon from Kenya. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, you can proceed, Laura, now.
Yeah. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Rura. Please, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Fire.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Karanja. I mean, this section is a lot, but thank you very much. So,
hello, my people. Hello, good afternoon. When are you coming to Akwa Ibom State now? I just looking for opportunity to partner with your foundation, especially on this term. But it looks like you will always focus on female undergraduate for this scholarship. There's nothing for entrepreneurs and the rest apart from female. Is there any business support for entrepreneurs that operate on school or educational technology? I usually always see female undergraduate on STEM. At least, when are you coming to Akwa Ibom now?
Okay, it's good that you put us on the spot. And to quickly answer the first question, so this female undergraduate that you say you see is tied to the scholarship. But one thing we also do is expand it beyond young women to teachers. So through the teachers bit is where we are able to touch on different things. And during our session in Kaduna, it was diverse things we touched on, and entrepreneurship was one of them, because we realized that beyond you being teachers, how do you also ensure that you're able to you can generate money outside the classroom, but as a result of your teaching skills. So those are opportunities that we currently cover. And to come back to your question on when are we coming to Akwa Ibom, very much depending on funding. If we have the funding that brings us to Akwa Ibom to implement a project, we are super excited and available. So if your school is willing to bring us on, we are ready to take up that charge.
Yes, now we have a place here, like our Ibom led, just like Lagos Business School. There's no how this foundation will come to Akwa Ibom. Such a place will be there for people to hold whatever conference, whatever webinar, whatever training. Yes, and my school, Top Style, we are here in New York, Akwa Ibom. So I really want to see people physically. At least we work together.
Mr. John, we'll take this conversation off the call. I've taken your name down email, but something to also note, good thing is that we have an outreach, a chapter rather, in University of Uyo, and just even last week they had an outreach in a school also in Uyo. So we will take this conversation off and see the opportunities we can get out of it. Thank you.
Okay, you send on my mail now. You send it to my mail there, please.
Yes, we'll be in touch with you. I'll be in touch with you.
Even the outreach from University of Uyo, that would better. Send their contact person for me in my mail. I would love to see it, please. If you can, after I'm hearing this call, so I can also contact the person.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Jessica, you can continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wura, for taking that. Mr. John, one day you will definitely see us in Akwa Ibom. So back to the scholarship. So the 2025-2026 WAAW Foundation's need-based scholarship is open. You know, I talked about the need-based scholarship earlier on, and this scholarship is open to female undergraduate students in Africa studying STEM courses in African colleges or universities. And this application is open or has been open since October 31st, and it closes December 19th, 2025. So if you know a female undergraduate student who is eligible, that is currently enrolled in a STEM program in an African university and demonstrates financial need, because we said it's a need-based scholarship. Let's say this student is very brilliant, is very good, but due to financial constraints, she is not able to further her education or she's having issues. Please recommend or direct this student or this girl to apply for the WAAW Foundation scholarship. And if they have any questions or inquiries, they can reach out to us at scholarships@waawfoundation.org. What's next for us? Please take a moment to complete our feedback survey. So our feedback is very important because it helps us improve and serve you better. So we will still have more sections of this teachers training, but your feedback will help us know in which angle we should tailor our next teachers webinar and the things we can improve on. And the recording would also be shared for some of us that are not able to catch up with everything or you didn't even join it at all. So the full recording will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. And of course, I'll definitely be in your emails with the link and the necessary details. And thankfully to Dr. Karanja, we'll be sharing the slides as well so that you can always go back and refresh your memory or jog your memory. So please stay connected with us so that you can always know about our future trainings, webinars, and every other program we do at WAAW. You can follow us on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you can find us. Twitter, LinkedIn, you see us there. And thank you very much for joining us today. So now I would be handing over to a very special person in our midst to give us some closing remarks. So I'll be calling on the Executive Director of WAAW Foundation, Mrs. Timileyin Onafeso, to take the stage. Hi, Timmy.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm sorry, where I am is a bit noisy, but can you hear me? Let me just say thank you, Dr. Karanja. Thank you for honoring our invitation, and to all the participants today. Thank you so much. Please stay connected to WAAW Foundation, just as they have said. Connect with us on our social media, and you get to know every single thing that we are doing from now. Thank you once again, Dr. Karanja. Thank you to Semastia, our wonderful partner for 2025. We appreciate you, and thank you to all the participants again. All right, thank you, everyone. I think from here, I'm just going to say thank you and take care of yourselves, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Timmy. Our
Thank
executive,
you.
okay, has had a role of or a series of events, and I can see she's currently in one. Okay, thank you very much, Timmy, for that. Where will we find the link for feedback? Oh, sorry. So once you drop off the call, the feedback link will pop up. So you don't need to look for the link. Once you drop off the call, you will see the feedback. It will pop up immediately. Thank you very much for that. So please, can we turn on our videos? Let's take a virtual photograph. I know this is not a physical event where we gather and take group pictures, but we can take a virtual photograph. So please, if you can turn on your video so that we can see you and see the beautiful faces. Okay, I see some people. I see Oma. I see John, Jeremiah. Please turn on your video.
Did you see me?
Okay, who is speaking? Sorry. John F. Young. Of course, I'm seeing you. I see Jeremiah. I see Wirala. Oh, I see Japhet now. I see Oma. Who else is here? Oh, I see John Odibe. Velvin Mola. I see Mola. Mola is one of my friends. I see Joan Accurate. Sorry, please. Oh, I see Mary Ndungi. Yay! Grace Mutoni. See a lot of my friends here. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so now I think I can come back to sharing
Are you
my
okay?
screen. Yes, please. I'm okay.
I
Thank
want to
you.
see on Facebook. Oh. I want to see that I can tag myself.
Definitely. Most definitely, you will see all of us there. Facebook, Instagram,
Okay.
YouTube, everywhere. Thank you very much for your participation, and please stay connected with WAAW Foundation for other opportunities that keep coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you once again, Dr. Karanja, for this insightful section. It was nice having you here. Thank you, Wuraola, my able program manager. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I also feel honored. See you next time.
Thank you. See you next time. Bye.
Okay.